Alabama Annie with another episode of Stories and Songs for you, and I am in a very beautiful and unusual place this morning. This is a location that used to be very secret, but now the secret is out. Climbers are using this location quite frequently, and the person who owns the land now is obviously taking wonderful care of it, keeping all the trash picked up and so forth. And I'm volunteering to help with that because I love this place. But I'm sitting in front of this crevice in the rock. And this was called, or in our day, Fat Man Squeeze, which is not a politically correct name, but it's true. If you get in there and you don't do it the right way, it's hard to get out. So in my podcast, Alabama Annie Stories and Songs, you will find an episode called Fat Man Squeeze. And it's about a little boy and his friends who came here back in the 1920s. And the little boy dropped his pocket knife from up top, and it fell down here. And so he decided he would come down to try to get it out. And when he did, he got stuck because he'd been eating a little bit too much peanut butter and jelly, or biscuits and gravy. And so he couldn't get out, and his friends went for help, and he was trapped there. It was a full moon that night, and a panther came trying to get to him. And he was terrified. But the boys came back with the man who owned the land, and he brought a lantern and some rope, and he got the boy out. And you'll just have to read it for yourself. But also, these shelters in these rocks were used by ancient man and owned into the current time. The Cherokee used them. This place was very sacred. And there is another story. Well, there are several stories, but there's another story in Alabama Annie Stories and Songs about this location. It is called Big Man Cave. And it's about another group of boys who came up from Little Wills Valley, up the side of the mountain, which is over there. And they came here to explore and play soldier and pirates, and maybe cowboys and Indians, which is not politically correct either, but hey. Anyway, and while they were here, they went to a cave that is just past this location that they knew about, and they went to the cave to explore it further like they had always been doing. And they got into the cave and went further that day than they normally had, and they discovered the skeleton of a large man. I'm talking about 7.5 or 8 foot tall, with an axe resting beside his skeleton on a rock inside the cave. And there was still evidence of the fire he had had, and some bones aside from the skeleton. And they managed to profit from finding that skeleton. And they brought people up for a nickel a pop to see it. And soon word got out. And so an anthropologist from a local college came to see this giant skeleton. And he ended up purchasing it from the boys who did not own it. But he took it back in a box. They got it down off the mountain, got it down to the train tracks, took it away to the college. And I will not name the college. But at the college, the skeleton was on display for several years until they did a remodeling of some of the facilities, and the skeleton was moved into the basement. And at that point, some of the college students discovered it, and they took his head, and they took one of his arms, and they used those items to terrify sorority girls and other students. They got into a lot of trouble for it, but inevitably, the head and the arm, and I'm sure other body parts too, disappeared. Were never seen again. And now, well, as of 1931, I believe it was, no one knew what had happened to this giant skeleton. And you know, the last few years, there's been a lot of research on that subject. So I found that very interesting, and I wrote a short story based on it. It's in Alabama Annie Stories and Songs, and this place just gives you stories. It gives you songs. And for a long time, I hadn't come up here until last week. It's been maybe 20, 22 years. Now I'm back, and I'll be here quite often telling stories, and next time, I'll bring my guitar. Thank you for watching.